Good? All right. Okay.
Good.
So, wait, what?
Good.
All right, thanks. Okay, so I was like 8 years old, and my parents and my sister and I, we all went to the state park. It was probably 3-4 hour drive. We went there for a weekend. I was kind of excited because I like being outdoors.
Really good.
And we get to the state park, and it has like a canoe place. You can rent a canoe for like $5 or whatever. So my dad and I were like, hey, let's rent a canoe because it sounded like fun. And so we start canoeing, and we get about 10 minutes into it, and we're like, all right, this is kind of fun, but you're in a lake, so there's really not much to canoe to. All you do is like just go around the lake. And so we kept on canoeing, and eventually I guess my dad got bored. I was having a blast. I was waving back to my mom like, look at me, I'm canoeing, because I was 8 years old, so I thought I was big stuff. And I guess my dad, he started getting bored because it's not that exciting to canoe for hours on end when you're just going around in circles. And so I guess after he started getting bored, he was just thinking, let's have some fun with it, I guess. And if you know anything about canoeing, when you're in front, it's mostly the person in the back that does all the steering and controlling. And so he told me, he was like, hey, let's go to that point over there. And so I'm getting all excited, thinking, all right, we're going to go. And so I start paddling as fast as I can. And about 5 minutes later, I'm like, you know what? We just keep going in circles. And this is my first time canoeing, so I'm totally confused. I'm like, is the boat broken? Do we need to take it back? I was thinking, are we going to be able to get back? I was thinking, I hope I know how to swim because that's a long way back to the shore. And we just kept going in circles. And I eventually asked my dad, I was like, what's the problem here? Why do we keep going around in circles? And he eventually tells me, it's like, haha, I was just playing a joke on you. And I was like, that was lame, but it's okay. And so, at the moment, I didn't really think that it was that big of a deal. But looking back on it now, I can see that there's a pretty valuable lesson in that little story. The Bible, if you open up to James chapter 3, verse 4, it says this. It says, look at the ships also. Though they are so great and are driven by strong winds, they are still directed by a very small rudder wherever the inclination of the pilot desires. And in this passage, James is equating the rudder of a ship to the words that we speak. And when we were going around in circles in the canoe, I didn't realize it at the time, but the thing that was making us go around in circles was the rudder. That was the thing that was kind of controlling the path that we took. That was the thing that controlled the destination where we were trying to go. And obviously it wasn't working out too well because we kept going in circles. I didn't know it at the time, but that rudder is the thing that played the biggest part. And when James sits here and he talks about how our words are just as powerful as that rudder, it doesn't matter how big the ship is. He says that even if you have a big ship, the small little rudder can make the biggest difference. And so when we see that he's equating the rudder to our words, we see that our words have power. And that's the first point that I got out of this little verse here. Our words have power. And, I was thinking about this, and it started making me think about my past experience with my parents. I can remember specific examples when my parents would either say something really nice to me or, sometimes when they would say something that kind of hurt me. And I don't think that they always knew that what they said hurt me, but it did. And, but the best part is, I can definitely remember times when I would come home and I'd say, look, I got an A on this test. And my mom would just be sitting there saying, you're awesome. You did such a great job. I'm so proud of you. And so in that way, our words are great because we can use our words to build somebody up. But unfortunately, words can also have the negative effect. They can kind of shoot somebody down. And when I was researching kind of what we were talking about today, I came across a study. The study said that looking at adult depression, like people who are adults that are depressed, they're trying to find the causes of this depression. And they went back to the adult's childhood, and they came to a couple of conclusions. They said that, first off, the number one cause of adult depression was when a person was a child, that the adult... Sorry, let me start over. When a person was a child, they were sexually abused by someone inside their family. That was the number one cause of adult depression. The second leading cause of this adult depression is being either abused by someone outside of your family, sexually abused outside of your family, outside of your family, or also being verbally abused. And that hit me. I was like, wow. I've always known that being sexually abused by someone outside of your family has to cause major problems. I have some friends that have actually gone through that. They tell me stories about how difficult it was for them, but to actually hear that being sexually abused is on the same level as being verbally abused. That just made me sit there and think, like, wow, our words really do have power. And because of that, we need to know how we can better control the words that we say. And if we'll go back to the passage here, the thing that really kind of stood out to me also in the second part of this passage, it says, look at the ships also, though they are so great and are driven by strong winds, they are still directed by a very small rudder. And hear this, it says, wherever the inclination of the pilot desires. And, it's not that the rudder just kind of does its own thing. It's not like it just starts flapping wherever it wants to. The pilot of the ship is the one that actually controls it. The pilot is the one that gets to set the course and say, hey, we want to go to that point over there. Let's set the rudder this direction so that we end up over there. And in the same way, we have the same kind of control with the words that we speak. I've been guilty sometimes of letting a word slip out or letting a phrase slip out that I didn't mean to say that actually ended up really hurting somebody. I think we've all probably been there. But, since you guys have kids, I think it's even more important for us because, this is one of the most formative times in their life. This is the time when we need to be building them up and need to be showing them that we love them and that we care for them. And we need to realize that we are the only ones that can control our speech. And once we really fully grasp that, I think that we can start to move on to learning how to really apply that to our lives. And so, I was thinking about this, and, eventually we all got kids here, most of them are pretty young still, and so one of these days, they're going to go running off to school, and, you're going to have your camera ready when they get on the bus for the first time, and they're going to be waving out the window like, bye, Mommy, bye, Daddy. And it's going to be so cute, and tears are going to be flowing everywhere, you're going to miss the kid. And then, when they come back off the bus at the end of the day, you're going to be there like an hour early just to make sure you don't miss when they get off the bus for the first time, with their cute little Barbie book bag or, Army men, or I don't know what they have these days. But I really don't shop for book bags for kids too often. And so, the kid's going to get off the bus, and they're going to be all excited to see you, and you're going to have your camera ready. Kid's going to come running at you like this. You're thinking, oh, they're going to want to give me a hug. Awesome, this is going to be great. And then right before they get to you, they stop, reach into their book bag, and they pull out like the most ugliest, hideous-looking drawing you've ever seen in your life. I'm sure you guys have all seen your kids do drawings before. You're like, that's all that is, just like 5 lines on a paper. That's ugly. But you can't actually say that to your kid, right? Because obviously that'd make them want to cry. That's not what we want to do here as parents. And so, in that moment, we need to learn how to properly respond to our kids. We need to know how much our words truly do impact them. And so what I want you guys to do on your way home, just, with your spouse as you leave here, just think of like 5 words or phrases that you could say to really build up your kids, like, wow, you're awesome, or, just don't make it too dramatic so that way they know you're lying, but, just say, wow, I think you're great. I'm just kidding, it's not actually lying, it's just, yes. If just think of some words that really are going to build up your kids, like, wow, I think you're great, and hopefully you're not lying about that. Wow, I think you're awesome. I'm so glad that you're my kid. I'm proud of you. Just go ahead and think about several key phrases that you can use, and I want you guys to try to use one of those today whenever you see your kid. So we'll close with prayer, and I think we might need to after some of those things I said. Sorry.